What is going on, guys? MJ2005 Gundam here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the classic high-grade Universal Century Zeta Gundam from Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. Succeeding in the Delta Gundam's concept from studying the Mark II's movable frame, it's developed at the request of the HGUC and served as a revolutionary transformable mobile suit in the Grips conflict. Coming with 6 runners and a sticker sheet, this version of the Zeta is probably one of, if not the most lightly loaded of the Zeta Gundam kit. And having dove into the old school builds around the time I've built it, the construction of the kit is quite similar to those around its era, making it quite an easy build to put together, even with the movable parts and mechanisms for the transformation. As such, there really isn't much to remark, though the use of the rich colored plastics and antiquated gate placement means more time needs to be spent on the cleanup phase, especially the glossy joints that use ABS plastic. While the stickers not adhering the best to the surface is another bit of trouble. Despite its age being more than apparent though, it's quite an enjoyable kit to build. A full snap assembly later, and if I'm honest, not only does the old high-grade Zeta look quite good on its own merit, the proportions look partly better compared to the Revive, especially the sharper and angrier head. Granted, the overall proportions are way blockier and chunkier, but from a glance, nothing really looks amiss. Of course, the same cannot be said for the rest of the visuals, as despite the fantastic part separation for the time, the older engineering left behind some prominent seam lines to clean up after, and prompted the use of stickers for the eyes, head sensors, and the yellow trims on the arms and legs. That being said, they don't adhere the best, even on flat surfaces, as I've already had to reconstruct the ones that I've lost when the kit was like a week fresh off the docket. Personally, I recommend painting them in alongside other smaller details like similar yellow ones on the shoulders and calves, and the red and grey on the wings and leg thrusters. Speaking of colors, while the richer blue and lemon yellow suits the Zeta design, the discrepancies in the blue and yellow would be noticeable to a pedantic nutjob like me, when the former should be more like the Rising Freedom's blue, and the yellow should have an orange tinge to it besides the V-fin, collar, and chest vents. But the coloration of the Zeta changed more times than I can count, so it's not something that warrants correction if I'm honest. Apart from that, bringing out the surface detail and filling in recesses will enhance the kit and help it visually blend in with contemporaries thanks to the looks aging really well. Articulation wise, the head is on a relatively flexible single ball joint. The arms can rotate, while both shoulder pieces can move out of the way for the perpendicular arm raise. There's a bicep swivel, single jointed elbows, and ball jointed wrists. The waist can rotate on a single peg. Front and side skirts can move away from the decent kicks towards every direction. The ball jointed hips allow for a rotation, knees are double jointed, and the ankle flap can move away from the ball jointed ankle that has a moving toe. Finally, the tail stabilizer is double jointed, while the wings can rotate, pivot, and fold open. Articulation isn't the best, but there's definitely plenty to go around. The structure is also relatively solid as well, minus the one knee bend, which is far superior compared to the Revive based on my experiences. In terms of accessories, besides the holding hands, you also get a beam saber holding hand. While I hate that these exist, at least the handle is supposed to be grey, which makes painting the parts somewhat easier. The beam rifle and shield make up the other parts of the generic Gundam loadout, with the rifle that features an extendable barrel and foldable handle wedging into the holding hand for somewhat awkward use because of the peg on the stock. And a shield with yellow stickers can plug into either forearm for the unit's defense. Alternatively, magazine extensions for the non-functional grenade launchers can be plugged onto the forearms as well, though the Hyper Mega Launcher is also included for heavier firepower. Featuring deployable panels and handles, it can be wedged into the hands for use, though the restricted upper body articulation and long stock makes the weapon somewhat finicky to set up. Finally, since this kit does not have an action base port, you'll either have to use the brackets from action bases or drill a hole yourself to prop it up. The last accessory is a weird block. With that, the chest/back panel, side and back skirts, legs, wings, and shield can be harvested and assembled onto the block to transform the Zeta into its Wave Rider mode. Granted, parts forming is no fun, but the fewer number of steps and moving parts like the hinged chest panel and sliding knee pipes in reference to the actual transformation enriches the tedious process with a bit of fun, which I'd have wished the Revive adopted. Though, despite the end result looking fine enough, minus the missing paint apps, it's easy to tell that it looks and feels wafer thin, as if the arms, abs, and head were crushed during the transformation. Plus, there's no reliable way to display it in the air. Sure, retracting the handles and collapsing the barrels of the firearms, adding them to the Zeta, and deploying the launcher's landing gear solves both of those issues somewhat, but I would argue that what you can do with Wave Rider, as good as it looks, is relatively restricted. Now, I didn't touch up the kits because I do have plans for it, but as far as it goes in a vacuum, I actually think that the Revive doesn't outclass this kit all too much. In fact, there are some spots that this high-grade Zeta did better than the Revive, like the more serious head, moving parts for the transformation, and in some cases, the better stability. Although, when it really comes down to it, the foundation that's laid out is pretty solid and aged well over the years. The visuals might be less refined, but they're still sharp and sleek, with little effort needed for a sufficient visual representation, unlike some other kits. The range of motion isn't the widest, but still flexible and sturdy enough to pull off a good amount of poses without any worry. And while the weapons might be a bit janky, especially that beam saber toothpick hand, all of them work well in both modes. Despite all of that, the age and acquisition difficulty might be the major turnoffs here, even though this kit is greater than the sum of its parts. Should that be the case, the Revive variants provide a more modern take on the foundations laid out by this kit. Though if you're interested, this is still a solid model kit to get. And that's all for me. Thank you for watching, drop a like and comment if you did enjoy the video, subscribe for more content like this, and feel free to follow me on social media with the links down below. That said, take it easy, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out guys, bye bye.